Hello. I'm here today to tell you a little bit about an expedition I had in aid of Framed in September, and that's an art readathon. One of the asks is to read a book on art, which I do all the time. The second one is to go and see some art. Today I did the seeing some art, and in actual fact I went to an exhibition in Belfast, Watercolour exhibition, and I also took in the delights of a well-known pizza place just round the corner called Flout. And as this kind of side thing, I totally fell in love with the building that the exhibition was in. So you're going to get a little bit of architecture as well, which after all is also one of the arts, the visual arts. So the whole experience was rather fabulous. I was with a friend. I didn't film her because that's not fair to film your companions. And getting into the building, we went in via a service lift, and it was two corrugated kind of doors to close behind. Really heavy work. You felt like you'd been working out in a gym, just doing it, and then getting up to the floor, walking out. And almost immediately as I walked through, I could see there was a welcoming desk with people ready to help with information. But beyond that, there were large glass windows and views of the cranes. Now, the yellow cranes in Belfast are shipbuilding ones. They're renowned because they built so many boats over the years, and there's so much history attached to them. And lo and behold, this building had a fantastic view of them, also of surrounding industrial area. And I just started to look around the paintings, and almost immediately noticed marks in the floor, noticed an interesting pattern. It showed how there had been maybe like a trolley pulled through for whatever the building was used for. And in fact, later in the corner I saw a few older parts of what would have been an industrial building use. And I was intrigued by the marks on the floor, and I happened to see the marks, the way the roof was arranged, which was also industrial and designed for work of moving things across the roof presumably, and I filmed that. And then that was me, I was totally distracted. But I'll give you a sense of the whole building. I'll give you a little bit of a sweep round, and you can see from the windows the way that the pictures were displayed. And they were put on hanging pieces of wood, and just quite simply, but industrial kind of chipboard displayed. And there also were little kind of cutouts through it, which I could imagine that if somebody went with their kids, that small children would just love being able to run in and around all those sort of things. But that's by the by. It was well displayed. There was a free catalogue, a free large glossy one, which I took home with me, and that meant that I've marked which pictures I actually circled or found interesting or photographed, and I've got the names here. So I do want to give mentions for particular works I enjoyed, so you will find that during the course of this video. They also had a feature where there would be an artist, what was called sort of in studio, which meant they were sitting at his kind of work surface with different things that they would have worked with and on in front of them. And today we were really fortunate in who was there. We had Sarah, who was so chatty and friendly, and I genuinely loved her work. And let me just say that a lot of what she does is slightly graphic, and she does the pictures of paperbacks, paints them in watercolours, and she also does prints as well. So, I mean, when you're a book reader, happy days. But she's also so interesting because she was talking about doing an exhibition recently on words that had been taken out of a junior dictionary. And they were words for very normal, usual, simple piece of nature, like dandelion and the kinds of different trees, and they were just being taken out of the dictionary, and she had purposely made pictures which illustrated that. And yeah, just astonishing. Moss was one of the words that was taken out. And you know, we were discussing that and how if the words are even taken away from the children and they're not talked about, then even the concept and linking it with something you see is even less likely to happen, and therefore there's just this hole in a person's thinking and seeing and observing. And what was being replaced with, according to she said, was more technical words for more technical things, technological things. So that was such an interesting conversation. Also, the society had arranged for a talk to be given by an artist, and that was happening at 2 o'clock. So we walked around and looked at the various paintings, and these are the ones that caught my eye. About halfway through, I realised that if we were going to get some pizza from Flout Pizza, we would need to pop out around lunchtime. So we broke with the viewing of the art for a while to do that, because Flout basically sells out whatever it has made, and then that's it for the day. So that was another delight. I mean, I have seen videos done by YouTubers who travel the world for really good pizza, really good food, and they really geek out when it comes to Flout. The guy who owns and runs it, was visible, and at his work, which he starts very early in the morning, and he bakes a sourdough base and then has all sorts of exciting toppings on top as well, and variations of sourdough for his base. He's a real artisan. We were not disappointed. My companion said that she would quite often go there, and she particularly loves the expression on people's faces as they stand at the till. They've just paid for their pizza and they turn around with the takeaway box in their hand, and it's just smile of excitement on their faces before they taste the pizza. It's that good. So back to the paintings in the building, and I love the surfaces. I found I was photographing all sorts of things, and yet I know it's an utter cliche in the art world to have photographs of buildings that are gradually falling apart, to becoming dilapidated, out of use, or so forth. And you will see photographs of that everywhere. Then someone will take a picture of a building like that, and possibly a derelict building, and then will have it blown up to be a huge picture. But there's something about being beside the texture and around the texture that was particularly interesting to me. So I love that from an art viewpoint. My eyes were just amazed by the colours, because they obviously fade. People start to get excited about patina, about the sense of that the surface isn't flat and all the same colour, but over age it kind of slightly shades and pieces wear more than others. So I just loved it. And there was a sense of history about the building, and I wonder what it was originally used for. Obviously industrial, and it has become a space for studios for artists, and I'm keen to find out more from Belfast Creative Exchange. And the list of the particular businesses looked interesting, and we passed one and there was a handwritten note on the door, and it was a film studios, and it said on the handwriting, "On location." So they were out of the building at the moment, which is very intriguing, because they didn't say where they were, but you just kind of, oh, what are you filming? It's so exciting. So yeah, I really liked the vibe of the area. There was another place close by that my foodie friend was keen for me to try, so that we might have to go back. So the exhibition is on now for a couple of weeks in September. I've been in near the start, and I encourage you to pop along, visit it, visit the area, and see what you see, what you enjoy. And especially if you're keen on watercolours, or you're a watercolour painter yourself, you are going to see much to enjoy. So bye for now.